Cam Robinson from Elite Prospects will be back in the home province of British Columbia. He's now down in California for the draft. That isn't the draft, but it's still the draft. And it's coming up on Friday, but for one day only, at least, greatly overshadowed here in the Vancouver market, Cam. I mean, we are still pretty sure they're trading the 15th pick. They didn't have to trade that to get Evander Kane.
They did not. I was at the hotel gym. Wasn't even scrolling Twitter, sent out some dumb tweet about the draft, and then I go to the homepage, and all of a sudden it's all Evander Kane talk.
Yeah, and you're like, wow, that was off topic.
It was off topic. Should have deleted. Yeah, no, it's interesting decision by the Canucks. Hey,
so just your gut reaction, pros and cons. How long is your list of pros on the Evander Kane trade?
It's short. It's very short. I mean, it's my gut reaction, boys. My gut reaction is Brock Besser has been like a beloved Canuck for a decade, and not just with the fans in that room. Like, the boys love Brock. He is a great guy. He is a finisher. He's a quality human being. The dressing room already has issues. You are now replacing Brock Besser with Evander Kane, a 34-year-old Evander Kane. Evander Kane hits. He shoots, and he takes dumb penalties. He doesn't play defense. He doesn't drive play. He doesn't set up plays. Okay, and he comes with a bunch of headaches traditionally. I know it's a 4th-round pick. The cost to acquire is nothing, but the fact that Edmonton didn't even have to eat salary. They didn't even have to eat salary. You just did them a favor. First, you gave them Vasily Podkolzin, which is fine. For some reason, you didn't think he could play on your 4th line when he could have. He proved that. He was able to play on a Stanley Cup contenders 4th line, 3rd line sometimes. He gave him away, helped them out after they lost Holloway. Now you're doing them another favor. These are the Western Conference champs back-to-back years. You're not supposed to do these guys favors. You're supposed to cut their legs out from under them like St. Louis did last year by offer sheeting 2 of their guys. I don't understand the get out of jail free cards. I don't understand the decision to bring this in. I know you want to get heavier, you want to get a little faster, you want to have some playoff experience. I think you could probably look elsewhere. That's just me. So I guess that's my list of positives. Was that good?
That was really good. That was really good.
Yeah, I think you covered a fair bit of ground there.
Sheesh.
I guess the thinking at some level has to be final year of his contract. If he wants a contract beyond this one, maybe best behavior here in Vancouver for a season?
I mean, it's not like I heard anything that we haven't heard that he's been all that bad in Edmonton, in that room or anything like that. And it's like, yes, obviously there's a laundry list going back to Winnipeg and off ice stuff, with the family. Like it's and I'm not even going to get into any of that. But it's just, yes, we've got 1 year left on his deal. I guess you could spin it as, hey, we spent a 4th on this guy, and then if it doesn't work, like if the team doesn't do well, we can sell him at the deadline and probably recoup more than that. I'm guessing there wasn't a lot of teams knocking down the door to Edmonton to get Evander Kane. Or maybe there were a few, but they were all like, yeah, we'll take him at half of his salary because, this is, he's a reasonably productive guy. What did he put up 40 odd points? He can score 20 goals for you if he stays healthy. He can score 20 goals for you. And so that is a valuable commodity and someone who has speed and someone who hits. But so maybe you can sell him at the deadline again too. But for this team at this juncture of their arc of trying to contend, and I say that very loosely, it doesn't check a lot of boxes for me.
Well, I think, and you brought up Brock Besser, and I think absolutely you're right to do that one. And the other one is, like, they have drawn this firm line in the sand with Pia Suter that they're not willing to go a buck over $4 million with this guy, and yet they're willing to take on all of, and again, it's just 1 year, but 34-year-old Evander Kane at $5 million. Like, the messaging does seem odd at the very least.
It does. And it's you get to the point where it's like you do need to be frugal with your money. You have to draw lines in sand sometimes, but if I'm like a longtime Canuck and I see, they go out and they trade Marcus Pettersson, boom, extend him right away, right after having proven nothing with that organization, where a guy like Brock Besser has proven it year over year over year, and Pia Suter, who came in and was incredible value for them. And yes, I probably wouldn't give him $5 million on a long-term deal either, because I think that just reeks of regression coming, and it's going to be too much. So if you wanted 1 year at $5 million, yeah, sure, I'd probably do that. But that long-term, but it's like, at some point it's like you have to give up to the guys that got you to where you are at, or the ones that you know and trust, versus constantly looking for the shiny new toy, and then you'll pay them before they've really acclimated into the room, or you find out if it's a true fit or not. Not to say that Marcus Pettersson isn't a good fit, and I think he is, but it's just those messages, and it's being clocked around the league. Like the amount of texts I got from people from other teams being like, "What are they doing? What's the thought process here?" I got a lot of them, and it's been like an hour. So teams are definitely clocking in, being like, "What's Vancouver doing?" The same with LV not being at the combine earlier this month. That was really well clocked around the league. Nobody really understood it, other than the fact that it's like they're clearly going to move that 15th overall pick, or try to. But don't you still want to be in the room with all the guys you're trying to make a deal with? Like, where you at? What's going on?
Yeah, it is peculiar, and I have a feeling it's going to get more peculiar perhaps as the week goes on. I'm also starting to wonder which of the current roster players will be on their way out, because I do think there's more changes coming here, Ken. Mm-hmm. Via the center trade, and I think they might be even working on another winger trade as well. But in order to make that happen, somebody's got to leave. Who do you think? Höglander doesn't have much value, but he's got a decent cap hit. And do they, with the acquisition of Kane, now feel like the size and muscle of Dakota Joshua is expendable? Does he have value? They're going to have to create some more space now if another winger and center are still coming.
Yeah, they do. You're absolutely right. And so it's like it's always this kind of like a year behind the trend. It's like if you had traded Dakota Joshua at the end of last season, who would have had great value, right?
Right.
Same thing as if you wanted to trade Kiefer Sherwood now. He's going to have a lot of value, right? But they won't. They won't do that. They'll wait for Dakota Joshua to have a struggling year, and outside of his control, a lot of that too. Granted, his value wouldn't be very high right now. They'll wait another year where Kiefer Sherwood doesn't score 20 goals, and then be like, oh, maybe he's expendable now. It's like sometimes you got to read the tea leaves. That sometimes regression is coming, and you try to get in front of it, and you sell high, and it just never seems to happen in Vancouver. So you're right. I don't think Höglander has much value, but it's a piece that they could move out. It's a piece that they could add to a trade to get someone that they want. Connor Garland, I've heard that they've had preliminary discussions about extending him. If that number doesn't look good to them, maybe he's the guy that's out the door, right?
Yeah.
It's so that they do have some options there too. I had somebody else ask me, kind of bring up about would they listen on a team side guy? Do you think they'd listen on Quinn Hughes this week because of the fear that he will leave? And I don't think that's. I'll just get that out there. I don't think they have any plans of doing that, because again, that would be super proactive, way too proactive.
Yeah. And then the list gets pretty short and leads down to the goaltenders. And what do you think the chances are that Thatcher Demko, Artur Shilovson are in the longest shot Kevin Lankinen is dealt?
I think anything's on the table. I think that they would listen on Demko. Again, another one that they'll find out they're going to extend him here pretty quickly. But again, the value, right? Like if you did this a year and a half ago, his value would be super high. And you guess I don't know if you can get a ton of value for him now, or do you want to send him to Edmonton and you're gonna have to play him a half dozen times? So I think they have to do something. They don't want to lose Artur Silovs, and that's what's going to happen. If he goes on waivers, he's gone. There's no chance he gets through waivers next fall. So they do kind of have to make a decision here, one way or the other. And if they think they're not going to have a spot for him, or if they don't think they can move Demko, they have to move him, or they have to try to move Lankinen. They have to do something to create that spot if they truly want to keep him.
We've seen teams start with three goalies that have been stuck in this situation before. It doesn't end well usually.
Never
right?
ends well. Never ends well. Yeah. Came practice with three goalies.
Yeah,
true. Only two nets.
Yes, that's true.
Nobody's found a way
to
introduce that third net at practice. It just doesn't seem to work. All right, as we close in on draft, the countdown very much is on. Now we're starting to see a little bit of activity, obviously including the Kane deal earlier today. Where do you stand at this moment? Again, with this 15th overall pick, who's using it?
I actually think Vancouver's if we talked about this, we talk about it all every week here for months. Yep. I think right now, if I had to put my mortgage payment down on it, I'm thinking Vancouver's taking that pick because
really,
yes,
hot
but not because they want to, not because they want to make that pick, but because basically every pick from 12 to 22 or beyond is available. Like I can't recall another draft where so many first round picks are in play. And
why acquire the 15th when you can acquire the 12th?
Exactly, right? And so it's just everybody's putting it out there. Nobody wants futures right now. Everybody wants players. There's only a couple real sellers that would actually take future deals. Like, Chicago offering up 3rd overall plus for JJ Peterka, and Buffalo's like, we don't need 3rd overall plus, right? Pittsburgh's got 11 and 12 now. I think they could get creative. I think they could look to move up. I think they could look to move back with one of them or maybe get mishmash. I think Columbus, both their first-round picks, and they've got, 14 and 20. I think that both of those are on the table if anybody wants futures. I think Vancouver's at a loss. I think that they have offered that 15th overall pick for a number of players, including Marco Rossi, plus to get, and they're getting shot down every which way. And it's, obviously we can just assume that 15th overall pick wasn't attached to Lekkerimäki or Vilander because that deal would have got done with Minnesota. So it's a lesser prospect. So if they really want to up the ante and give up one of their top prospects and their first round pick, then I think that they can move that pick. But you better get something good in return if you're going to ship out one of those guys and that pick. But it's just like it sounds like it's going to be exciting with so many picks available until you realize that everybody's doing it, and that just diminishes the value of everyone's picks.
So, Cam, if they use that 15th pick and they come away from this draft with either Braden Coots or Cole Reshny, is that a successful draft for the Vancouver Canucks?
I have more questions than answers on both of those players. So it's fine. Neither one of them would be a bad add to a prospect pipeline, and I think that there's a world where Reshny goes even before Vancouver gets a chance to pick. But he's this slippery, skinny kind of playmaker who isn't fast and doesn't have a big shot. So it's he sounds more like a winger to me. But wingers that aren't all that quick and are playmakers, it's not a ton of them translate all that well to the NHL. And then Coots, really pacey, has good speed, has a good defensive mind. So I think he's going to be a pretty good NHLer. But again, not big and doesn't have a ton of offensive upside, I wouldn't say. So now you're looking at not a sizable third-line center. I just, you know what I mean? Once you get into that realm, now I think there's going to be some guys that are going to slip around to 15. I could see Victor Eklund potentially getting there. And that's the guy you want. That's the guy you walk away from the draft with Victor Eklund at 15. Now you're like, ooh, backpat. We did well on that one because that kid I think is going to be, I've said it, Travis Konechny or Seth Jarvis or whoever you want, Brad Marchand, whoever you want to dial in. That's the type of player he wants to be, and that's the type of style he plays with. And I got all the time in the world for that.
I've got a galaxy brain idea here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I want to hear it.
Yeah,
me too. I'm excited.
So we just spoke to Dreger. There's still so much noise around the Canucks, so much noise around the Buffalo Sabres.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a deal there for any number of players in any number of combinations. But amongst that deal is a pick swap of 9 and 15. And at the 9 spot, the Canucks are all of a sudden in the wheelhouse of Jake O'Brien and Roger McQueen.
Mm-hmm.
Do either of those two players play next season in the NHL? No. McQueen, even with the size, no.
No. He played 20 games this year too. Yeah, no. He needs time. He's going to stay in the West. I'm almost certain too. He's not going to go to school because he needs more games, and he doesn't want to go to the NCAA and only play 30.
Who excites you of those two though?
Oh, both of them. I like both those players for sure. I put it out there today. That was the tweet I put out when Kane got traded. Is the disruptor tweet? Is that I think Jake O'Brien has the potential to be that Beckett Seneca disruptor that we saw last year. Is that I talked to two teams have him as their second best forward on the board. Neither one of them are picking in the top 10, but there is some level of love amongst some teams that this kid could be special. And I've comped him to Elias Pettersson a few times before too, as I think he has that kind of style and that maybe not that pure upside of a 100+ point guy, but it's there aren't many players in this class. So you could be he could be a first line center. And I think he's one of them. And then I think another one is Roger McQueen. And it's I could make an argument that on pure upside alone, McQueen is tops in the class because of his size and his skill profile. So, yes, I think either one of those guys. But again, it's what are you giving? What are you giving Buffalo to do that, to make that swap? Because now it's now they're sliding back. So whatever you're getting from them, it's got to be worse than what player you're attaching to. And that's what they want, right? They don't want to trade Peterka for futures. I don't think they want to trade Alex Tuck. Teams are calling and asking about Rasmus Dahlin, and they're just hanging up the phone. So it's. I don't think Vancouver has enough to interest them. It's same with Bowen Byram. I just don't think they have the pieces to interest Buffalo.
Yeah. And Byram's not a perfect fit here for this team. Just not a desperate need for this team. So yeah.
Cam, I am really curious to see where Kashawn Aitchison winds up. Obviously, ton of talk around this guy for all the intangibles. one thing to be the king of the junior jungle. Like, are his skills transferable? Like, what's he going to look like in the National Hockey League?
Remember Kevin Bieksa? Remember
do.
KB?
I do.
Yeah, he might not be that level, you know. And Bieksa wasn't supposed to be Bieksa either, so
it's true.
He turned himself into that too. But he had that style. He had that swashbuckling throwback smash mouth style. This kid is a competitor, and I have a lot of time for like ultra competitors. And so, you know, yes, the IQ maybe isn't something that you would normally attach to a potential like top pairing defenseman, but you know, he's not huge. He's going to play heavy, but he's only about 6'1". So it's like, yeah, I think he's more destined to be like a really interesting and unique kind of 4-5 type of player, who can play penalty kill, who can like change the energy in a game with a big open ice hit or a big fight that he wins and he gets the fans into it, or a big goal. Like, he's got a big shot. 26 goals this year, 5 OT winners, but it's like the most difficult thing to replicate year over year for defensemen scoring goals. So it's like you're not projecting him to be that level of player at the NHL. But you're right to say that it's one thing to dummy some 16-year-old in the O, versus to step up and you know, try to feast on Tom Wilson or something. So it's like he's not going to be a heavyweight, but he is a super competitive player. The personality is just so magnetic too, is that teams really like the person and they like that old school style. I don't think he's there for 15, but I think there's a good chance that he's the second D off the board just because of all those intangibles.
Cam, who knows what the heck's going to happen with the Vancouver Canucks? They have one less draft pick now, at least. We know that. They're a little less busy on draft day because of the 4th-round pick for Evander Kane. But as of right now, they have a few others that still could be used. So we'll see what they do with that. And thanks for doing this. We'll have a full recap with you coming up next week.
Sounds good, boys. Thanks for having me.